Good morning. Wednesday Wisdom is here again. Hope everyone's having a wonderful morning. We're all on the same time. Well, not everyone, but Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland are back on the same time zone, so I'm rapt about that. So I'm here with the beautiful Laurel, Ben and Niki. We're going to be talking about awakening the energy bodies, if I'm correct. So if you're watching on Wednesday Wisdom, I'd love for you to say hello and drop a comment where you're watching from. And if you're watching on YouTube, please just hit the subscribe button and the bell, and you'll get notified when we put some new stuff on there so that you're always up to date and getting lots of wisdom from us. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about how this all started. Like, who wants to go first? What are we talking about? Like, how did you guys meet and all of that stuff? I might start with Ben, if that's okay.
Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about how we met, and then I might pass over to Niki to talk about the process and how it was birthed.
Cool.
So now I've got a range of experience with teaching and qigong and meditation and a range of other different modalities, along with regular teaching on primary training, high school training, done those sorts of things. It's all kind of culminated last year running an online course, and it just so happened that Laurel and Niki were in that course. And it was through the process of discussions and what have you that we got to know each other better and felt a strong resonance there. And that has kind of led to me moving and giving up my teaching as a full-time thing. Now Niki and I are together, partnered up, and the three of us have had this whole bodies clearing process kind of as a birthing of the different offerings that we have kind of come together. I think I'll hand over to Niki to talk about, how this has actually come through.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So pretty much what he said. It's amazing just to touch on how we all met. We've actually never met Laurel in person, so we have this insane soul connection.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like family, so it's easy to work together. And one of these days we'll actually get there. Isn't
it amazing technology, like where we're at in time and space, right? Like that we can do this and never physically meet, however, have that connection from such a length away. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, I call Laurel my soul mama because we're just so connected. The three of us just have always had this language, this energetic language, so it makes working together really easy. So I guess part of the awakening the body's birthing process was just kind of started with dreams and experiences through meditation. And I started sort of getting like subtle realm information, and quite often the way my work happens is it'll just be an impression that I've got to anchor light or healing or something like that. And this particular time, and I think being in the energetic field with Ben and Laurel amplified these messages that I was getting. And basically it started from there. So it was kind of drip fed little bits and pieces about Gaia, what's happening with Gaia. And quite often I'd wake up and just Ben would be writing things down for me, dates, and this is what we have to do. And so it's kind of instructional downloads, I call them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a process then of I'd be impressed upon to sit and meditate and get all of this information. And so that's literally how it came about. So I just did some automatic writing sometime about what I was getting. And it was pretty much the backbone of everything that we've developed so far. So I don't know how much detail to go into. I could go on about it forever. It's exciting.
I'd love for you, like one of the things about these interviews is pulling out a little bit more about the actual topic too. So how is it that you feel you get downloads? Like what's the process that you go through when that's happening?
I've been trying to figure that out my whole life.
Me too. That's why I thought I'd ask the question. People say, how do you do? I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Just can't brain it. And it's one of those things where I think, you know, just through developing the practice of just receiving and being open to receiving what's there and not kind of having any judgment on it. And I mean, I surrender everything that I get as well. And, you know, that's been a practice too, because, you know, you might get an impression or a dream or an intuition and hold on so tightly that, you know, you've got this, like, I always felt like I had this mission. I had to do this thing. And if I don't do it, I'm going to fail the mission, you know, this kind of, this sort of stuff. And having done this deep work, especially with what we're doing, and we've practiced the rituals and the sessions, the clearing sessions ourselves, it's really kind of taken away the edge for that kind of thing and just allows me to receive what I receive and take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes things, you know, they're you know, premonition type things, but it's all about cultivating that as well. We can get that premonition or that download and do absolutely nothing with it. And then, of course, you know, doesn't necessarily happen. So the things that happen to come to me are, I feel like, calls to action, things that I can actually do that are going to help. And I think a lot of that is intention as well. Have this intention to help the planet.
Yeah. And would you, like, you know, two things that come to mind for me is also just that complete trust that what you're getting is accurate information, and not editing, like editing it, like letting the mind start, you know, processing whatever it is and making assessments of that instead of just the purity of it coming through, right? So
absolutely. And there's that part too where we can project our own feelings onto a you know, a download or something like that. And it is really, you know, over the years of practice of surrender and taking, you know, the self out of the equation and just giving the transmission of what's been given without the filters of, you know, whatever is going on for me or whatever's happening in the external world. It's just like, what's the actual message? And I find Spirit's very direct. There's no if, buts, or maybes. It's sometimes it's like, it's almost like a Rubik's Cube. You just get little pieces that you have to kind of fit together, and it doesn't make sense at first, but then for the most part, it's all very direct. So just listening as well.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. That's awesome. And so, Laurel, go Ben. Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say on that as well. It's certainly been my experience working and doing one-on-one sessions and group sessions where you're doing some kind of modality or what have you, where, you know, you're being open to what's unfolding, where there is that, you know, I never know what's going to happen in a session. It doesn't matter. I've got, you know, a range of different modalities, and it's like I have to surrender even before I've started. It's like, I don't know how this is going to go. It's no mystery. And it's funny how life gives us something back. You know, just little breadcrumbs on the way. It's like, when you go into that space and you totally trust and you just speak what's coming through with the people knowing. It's like, I'll say to people, it's like, I don't know, you know, this could be a metaphor, it could be, you know, past life, whatever it is, you know, take it with a grain of salt. And then when I can do that, then it can seem to come through and people will give me feedback. It's like, I was thinking exactly the same thing when you said that. It's like, oh, wow. And like for me, it's always in the background. I have this voice sometimes like, are you crazy? Really? And it's, you know, for me, this is kind of living with these two parts. It's like I don't actually have to deny that part that's kind of questioning and doing all that. It's like, okay, that's there. Let that be there, kind of thing.
I think it's healthy to have discernment as
to stay in the innocence of it, right? Like just to be the channel, and absolutely. Yeah. So
often says have a play with it.
Hey?
Oh, I just said Ben often says when he's doing the work is, you know, just have a play. Have a play with it.
Just have a play. Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Laurel, you've basically done this course, can you share your experience of, you know, where you were first and what happened through the process and where you're at now? Like, Just
yeah.
as a bit of an introduction, and so people know what it is that you guys have created, basically.
Yeah, well, I'd already been on probably a 12, 13-year healing journey, which I think I started with you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, all those years ago.
All those years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it sort of, led me from one thing to the other, just to keep growing, to keep opening up, to keep healing. And then I started another course last year where I met Niki and Ben, which, was more process to growing and moving on. And then Niki started having these, we just got closer and closer, Niki and I did. It just happened, we were there for each other for emotional support. We were there to bounce off things. I become 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗏 and this sort of stuff. So we, even though we haven't met each other, it feels like I've known her forever. So that's really beautiful. And then she started having these downloads, and it was just so exciting. And then, her and Ben were working together with it, and then they bounced stuff off me and were like, yep, let's do this, let's do it. So I was, you always feel like you're in a pretty good space. And then you start doing something like this that just starts plucking even
peeling off the layers again. Yeah.
You realize how big that bloody onion is,
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, so it's been amazing doing the process. It's really taken myself to a deeper level, and to a higher vibration as well. So it's taken out a lot of ancestral stuff, a lot of karmic stuff, looping stuff that's been sitting there that, you think you've moved through, and then all of a sudden it's just gone deeper again, and it brings it up. And the whole process has just brought me to this beautiful, I guess the best way to describe it is empty. Once we'd done the process, I just felt empty, like I had all this room within me from all the stuff that had been taken out, to have room to bring in more love or whatever needs to flow through from life. Without giving away too much of it, it's gentle but very powerful, I would say, very potent. To think of being able to change what's been before us and change the ancestral burdens and pains and trauma that's come through, as well as the generational stuff, as well as our stuff. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're in this moment, right? Like the past is just a memory inside our head. So
but you think
almost like it didn't exist because it's not there anymore.
That's right. But it's surprising what you find is sitting, the imprints that are sitting in your, your physical, your emotional and your etheric body. And I think that's what I love. This process is going through the whole lot. A lot of processes you can do are either dealing with the physical or the emotional, or, this one does
one or the other.
This one does the whole three. So you just, as this starts peeling, it just keeps peeling and away it goes. But the beautiful facilitators, Ben and Niki, and the emotional support will be there, and it's all been divinely downloaded, I would say, and it's fallen into a beautiful process. Yeah, we will get everything you need.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So maybe I'll throw this to Ben. Can you give us a little bit of what it is that you guys take, like the healing process, without going into, I know that you can't explain too much, but what is it that someone can expect from this process?
Okay, so basically what we were looking at in what came through for Niki was, we've got, there's a number of different, if you like, bodies that we have, where conditioning is stored. So at this stage, it's like 3 came through us as ones that are going to hold some of the densest and heaviest conditioning, which was the physical, the emotional, and the etheric. And then there were also 6 different aspects or types of conditioning that can be held in these bodies. So we've got pain, suffering, trauma, anger, grief, and shame were the 6 emotions that came through us, the densest ones that are really going to give people who go through a process like this the biggest movement in terms of clearing stuff. So what we're doing is we're using I feel like a ritual process, and I really felt strongly this morning to actually briefly talk about that ritual. As soon as some people hear the word ritual, and they'll go, whoa, what is this? Hold on. But the thing that really came through strongly and what I wanted to share around ritual is it's like a stepped process that's the same each time, which allows us to bring a depth of consciousness to the work. And part of, I guess, the healing process for me is like when we can bridge our consciousness more deeply into the thing that we're trying to shift or change or move or transform, then the deeper that transformation is. So what we've got is we've got these 6 different rituals or processes, one for each of the aspects, where we go through the physical body, and we'll look at how, for example, pain might be stored in different aspects of the physical body, and we'll release it from those spots. Then we'll go into the emotional body, and then we go into the etheric body. And so we're doing that through one ritual, one process we go through, and we remove as deeply as we can those pieces of conditioning that are sitting there. And so the beauty of having 3 peoples like a triangle gives us a beautiful kind of geometric shape that holds the space for the work that we're doing. So when people are going through that process, energetically you're held within that space. We're helping to bridge consciousness deeper into the group, in the group field, and to shift and transform what's there through the various modalities that we're kind of putting together in this multi-modality approach.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah, I hope that gives a bit of a picture. Was there anything that else that you wanted me to speak to?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And working in so many different layers, and that's the deep work, isn't it? Like actually, I work with the unconscious and the what I call super conscious, right? So, you're doing that and the layers of the etheric field at the same time, So, so I'm assuming you do this on Zoom or online.
Yeah.
Basically, because
you've
been in different places yourself, so
the metaphoric
fields.
So with the fields, so we do that. We work online, and I've done similar kind of processes online, and they proved actually to be quite effective. Initially it's like, for me, it's like, I'm not so sure. I love working face to face, but the process does seem to work quite well. Working online through Zoom as we're doing the process. And there was, I think one of the beauties of this process as well is like Niki had the initial download, and like I said, working through these different layers. One of the things that came through, one of the modalities that I work with, vortex healing, they've really mapped their energy system, the different systems, in a really detailed way. So what that's allowed us to do is bridge in this detail. So one of the things I find when I'm doing work in this kind of shamanic way, if I can label something and point to it in the fields, I can consciously call it out, and it brings it to the surface. So I feel like we've created this map where we can actually point to really quite specific things within the system where the conditioning is held, to be able to create that shift as well. So it feels like it's this really beautiful process, which is a mix between magic and beauty and transformation, and kind of mechanical piece as well.
What just came to mind for me is an alchemy and wizardry, pinpointing, pulling it out, looking at it, transforming it. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah.
I think you pretty much nailed it there.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So if whoever's watching, and we often have people on the replay watching afterwards, so how can people get in contact with you and find out a little bit more information?
Oh, okay. We have a website, so we'll drop the information in the comments after the interview. So we've got a landing page website which has got pretty much all and every piece of information that you could possibly need, because we're all about transparency as well, and understanding understanding that people have curious minds and, wanting to know exactly what they're doing before they, want to sign up for anything, of course. We're contactable through Facebook. So we have a Facebook page, which I'll drop the link to as well, and an email account. So there's plenty of ways to be able to get in touch with us. We're happy to chat with anyone if there's any questions.
And people can friend you guys as well on social media and get in that way as well as messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other question I just had is the course something that's like is it continuous, or I think what drew me a while back was Laurel said something on Facebook and I went, oh, there's a course starting. Have you just finished a course and there's another one starting, or how does that work? Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, so what we're leading into, so we've done the whole process we've gone through ourselves. We've done a shorter version as well with a group of people. So what we're looking at now is having two options. So the first option will be people who are curious and want to go through and just do little pieces. So maybe they're really resonating with anger and they want to jump on and do the process for anger and work that all the way through the 3 bodies. We've got those 6 events lined up, ready to go. And the first one will be the 13th of May. We're doing pain. And we'll just every 2 weeks, we'll be working through each one of those. So that's a one-off. Then we'll also down the track, and we haven't decided the date just yet, we'll be running it as a 7-week process, and there'll be Facebook more support through that whole thing. So we'll have meditations and other bits and pieces and add-ons and little videos to share in the Facebook group. So that will be for people who really go, this is what I want. I want to be able to go deep, because I'd say this work isn't for the faint of heart. It's really quite deep work, particularly when you're looking at things like pain, suffering, and trauma. It's like they get pretty deep in the system and how that's held.
Absolutely. Especially if you're talking generational stuff, right? Like or different timelines and yeah,
absolutely. So that supported container, I think, will be quite a beautiful space for people then to be able to share in a private space and have a community of people that are actually going through that whole process together. So those are the 2 ways we'll be offering. So if people are keen to do the 7-week, they can just register their interest and what have you. And then once we have a date ready to go, then we'll be able to inform people about that.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. Well, it's lovely. It's been lovely having all 3 of you on. This is the first time I've interviewed more than one person on Wednesday Wisdom. I enjoyed it. So I hope that you got some value out of it as well. So, and I hope everyone that's watching got some value out of it. Love to look at the comments when we jump off here. And thank you so much from your different areas of Australia that you're in. So have a wonderful day, and and I'll catch up with you next time.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. It's been a real privilege and honour to be on here with you and be here with Niki and Ben and share the love and share the beautiful makings on offer. Yeah. You have a lovely day too. Yeah, nice to catch up with you.
Yeah, you too. We'll have to catch up. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the time, Liz. Really appreciate that. It's awesome.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.